Yo, what's up? Like a year and a half ago, I made this storefront scene. It was one of my first large scenes that I did completely on my own without a tutorial, and I still think it's pretty good today, which either means I actually did a good job, or I just haven't gotten better at Blender in the last year and a half. Probably the latter, to be honest. The whole reason I even learned Blender in the first place was because I wanted to make digital Lego animations. I still haven't done anything with Lego in Blender, but I figured I would make some steps toward that, and make a still scene with Lego. I thought it would be a cool idea to remake my old storefront image in Lego. I thought it would be interesting to put them side by side. I've made a lot of digital Lego models before, but I've never put them into Blender. I used to use Lego Digital Designer years ago, which was the official Lego CAD. It's since been discontinued though, with the Lego group instead using Bricklink Studio, or stud.io, I guess, as the new official digital Lego builder, which is probably a good thing since it's overall better. So as always, let's load up a new project and delete the default brick. A main aspect of my original Blender project was the big brick wall in the foreground, so I searched up brick into the search bar of Studio, and I guess that makes sense. Hold on, what's the Lego piece that looks like bricks called? Oh yeah, masonry bricks. There we go. I started construction on my beautiful wall of masonry bricks. After an incredible amount of work, I finished the first layer. I couldn't find a color that really matched these classic red bricks that I wanted though, so I looked up some images of Lego masonry walls to see what I was missing. I saw this cool design from Stauber, but when I thought about putting it in my project, I realized it would be way too large to fit. I ended up just settling with these reddish brown ones. It's not as detailed since the mortar color is the same as the bricks, but that's okay. I brought a door into the scene. A very small door. Is this even a door? Minifigures wouldn't even be able to fit. I guess it wouldn't be the first time Lego made a door where the person it belongs to can't get through. So I continued my long quest for a normal door. And what is happening? Seriously, where are the normal doors? Here, it was right here at the top. I set the door back, added this tile for a gray concrete slab, and made the door frame dark green, which is going to be the color I'm going to use for most of the highlights on the ground level of the building. The original storefront scene has those large tan slabs for sidewalks, so I looked for some large Lego tiles and found these, which were perfect for creating that look. I made the buffer between the sidewalks and the street this hexagonal tile texture in Blender, but I don't think there's an equivalent piece in Lego that would be small enough to work here, so I looked around the parts browser for a cool looking piece that I could use in the design and found this. Paired with a 1x1 curved tile, it makes an intricate looking design that's small enough to fit in the buffer. One tricky part of this build that I knew going in I would have a bit of trouble with were these dark green wood borders in front of the door. I didn't want them to be too thick because that would look weird, but Lego isn't exactly known for being easy to get small details at this scale. Or maybe it's just me. I tried just straight up placing tiles facing forward, but I immediately knew that it was way too thick. I also needed the green border on the big display window, so I started working on that in the meantime. I couldn't think of any small and simple ways to get a thin border on all four sides of the window, so I settled and just put these track pieces on the top and bottom. I finally figured out that if I just put these tiles sideways, they'd look thinner since the sides are, well, thinner. Technically, the door wouldn't be able to open since the tiles are getting in their way, but I don't feel like redoing it, so it is what it is. Since the masonry Lego pieces only come in 1x2 and 1x4 lengths, and the gap between the display window on the left of the door and the regular window on the right are a 5-stud gap each, I needed to put some normal smooth 1x1 bricks to fill the gap. I actually really like how it looks though. It breaks up the brick pattern nicely. It looks like I planned it to be like that, but of course, I've never planned anything in my life. Except that one time, I guess. I changed the color from this very harsh red to the same color I used for the masonry bricks. Now, getting wood frames to look a bit thinner is one thing, but I knew I had a much bigger issue that I couldn't avoid, right around the corner. The big tree in the room. I had no idea where to even start with this. Out of desperation, I scrolled down to the plant section of the parts list and just looked for anything that would work. I found this tree trunk, but it was too big and I couldn't even make a whole tree from it anyway. I looked up some Lego street trees and this one looked really cool. I didn't feel like making it as big as in the picture though, because placing any pieces at anything other than flat and at 90-degree intervals is just an awful experience. And this tree would mean placing a lot of leaf parts at strange rotations, side to side as well as up and down. I got started on meticulously placing and rotating every single hinge and leaf. In this program, there's this cool little thing where you have to connect bricks to something else realistically to place it. So it has to be exactly in the right position to be able to add it to another piece. This is, of course, definitely how all 3D programs work, and does not make me want to jump into a giant pool of loose Lego bricks from 50 feet high. So I slid this bar between all the cylinder pieces, then attached another 2x2 cylinder to that bar. I rotated it 45 degrees-ish, so the new leaves I put on here would be offset to the bottom leaves, making the tree look fuller. I won't inflict actual physical pain on you by making you watch the rest of me attempting to finish this tree, so here's most of it done. I just added some more colors to fit the autumn theme, and added a couple more leaves to top the tree off. It's not looking too bad if you were to ask me, but you can't, because this is a video. Now that that's all taken care of, I moved on to finishing the rest of the building. As the barrier between the first floor and the second floor, I put these tan tiles on their side across the storefront. I honestly didn't even think about this part right up until I had to do it, but there's a massive neon sign in my original scene, so I had to figure out a way to make a massive neon sign in Lego. I knew I wanted to use brick-built plate letters like these, and not flat tiles like these, because that would take up too much space, but I wasn't sure exactly how, so I used this little trick called like 2 hours of trial and error, when I realized that I wouldn't have anywhere near enough space for the full sign that says Butterdale Bakery. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the flat tiles don't look too big. I probably should just use that instead. Well, I settled for a sign that just says bakery. Again, you have to place bricks on each other realistically, so I had to do this weird connection to get the sign to actually be on the building. So far, pretty much everything I've been building has been accurate to my original Blender scene. Well, besides the neon sign thing that literally just happened. But that changes right about here. In my original scene, the backdrop for the neon sign continues until you can't see it anymore. I did that because I was lazy and didn't feel like making a second floor. Well, in Lego, making a second floor would be a lot easier, so I started to do that instead. I continued the brick wall, but this time set back a couple bricks to give the building more depth. I put a window on the second floor, changed the colors of the bottom row of bricks, and the tiles separating the top floor from the bottom floor to make everything look a tad nicer and more detailed. I did the same thing on the other side of the building too. This is starting to look a lot more complete. I set these windows back a block because I wanted to leave room for some details above and below the windows. I love using these anti-stud tiles because they feel like they shouldn't exist, but they look so nice when you use them. I put this hinge thing on top of it. I tried putting that same hinge piece on the windowsill, but that looks weird, so I removed it. I ended up building a simple flower box. Most of the exterior was finished at this point. I built a super simple street design with some large tiles, and added a trash can between the sidewalk and street. I thought about adding a banana peel on the street as a bit of litter from someone that missed the garbage bin or something, but this banana peel is absolutely massive. I mean, like, this thing could probably make a bulldozer do a 360 if it accidentally drove over it. So I put it to the side to maybe shrink it after I export this build to Blender. I put some 1x1 studs on the side, matching all the colors on the tree leaves too. The idea is I could scatter them under and around the tree on the ground to look like fallen leaves. I tried to make a not weird looking chair with legs, but I was not successful. Hours were spent trying to figure out what would look good, but to no avail. Actually, that was a lie. It was like 15, maybe 20 minutes, but you know. But in the end, it was just back to a few stacked 1x1 studs. Made a simple circular table with a couple pieces too. Another flower box was needed for the sidewalk level, so I duplicated the flower box I made earlier and actually put some flowers into it this time since they could fit. After making a relatively small folding chalkboard sign, I was done with all the small details that I was going to put on the sidewalk in Blender. Next up was the interior of the bakery. I wasn't going to go too crazy with this since it's only in the background. Whoa, look, it's Blender. Haven't seen that in a while. Isn't that something? I pulled up the blend file of the original scene to see exactly what I did on the inside so I could replicate it. Back in Legoland, nope, that's already taken. Back in Lego World, nope, that's also taken. Okay, back in Lego City, oh my god. Back in Bricklink Studio, I guess, I got some windshield pieces for the display case, with a checkout area next to it, and Barnaby for scale, of course. I filled the display case with various tasty treats and delectable dishes. I also made the center table and glass display with copious amounts of cupcakes. I put a bunch of tiles on the ground in an alternating pattern for the floor and made the wall out of these textured bricks and regular smooth bricks, also in an alternating pattern. I didn't want to make an interior behind every single window, so I put up some curtains made up of these black 1x1 cylinder pieces. The next step was to bring this model into Blender. This is also the moment I realized that you cannot bring Bricklink Studio models into Blender. I thought you could, of course, because why would I spend days on this thing if I thought you couldn't? Then I remembered. 2 words. Mecha Bricks. Mecha Bricks is the program where you can export your LEGO models to Blender, not Bricklink Studio. Also, side note, there have been a record 4 3D programs in this video so far. I do plan on breaking that record soon though, so stay tuned. Everything was still fine. All I had to do was export the model I just made into Mecha Bricks, then export the Mecha Bricks model into Blender. Simple, right? So I just loaded up Mecha Bricks and oh my god, what did it do to my model? Why are the leaves pink and yellow? And what happened to the windows? And the sidewalks and streets? And that tile pattern I liked so much? At this point, I was just like, yeah, alright, I'll just fix everything. It shouldn't take too long. It took too long. I almost had a panic attack because of how weird Mecha Bricks controls are. I don't even know how to explain it, and you can't change it either. What you're not seeing right now is the 20 minutes of me trying to figure out how to move stuff in this program. Anyway, I fixed everything. I kinda got used to the controls, and Mecha Bricks has a couple features I like being able to actually have bricks not be attached to anything, like a normal 3D software. Oh, also this happened. What even is going on? Why is this allowed to happen? Ah, finally, my home, Blender. There were problems with this, of course. It was massive. I don't know why, but Mecha Bricks made this model absolutely gargantuan. Also, everything was shiny. Not just, oh, that's a bit shiny, isn't it? No, everything was a literal mirror. Perfect reflections. Real LEGO can't even do that when it tries. I tried seeing if there were any settings I could change in Mecha Bricks, but I couldn't find anything. The only thing I could think of was manually changing the roughness of every single texture. There were a lot of textures. They're scrolling past your screen right now. This is at 2x speed, by the way. Still going. I don't really know what else to say. Oh, that's it. So yeah, it looks a lot better now. Everything is still very flat though. Mecha Bricks has a Blender plugin that lets you automatically add surface imperfections, color fading, and parts randomization, which is everything I would do to make it more realistic. But yeah, so I started adding surface imperfections like scratches and fingerprints manually. I wanted to get the right scale, so I made the scratch texture really big on each brick to make the bricks look small in comparison. I guess this chair had some kind of kid chewing on it as their early morning snack every day for 3 years because wow, this piece is not in good form. I discolored some random bricks by messing with the saturation and color values. I lit the interior of the bakery with some slightly orange point lights and set up all of the loose pieces to be on the sidewalk. It wasn't completely clear what this was supposed to be without context, so I made a graphic for it and put it on the brick. I rendered out the scene and touched it up a little bit with some minor editing to hopefully make it look more realistic. This was something a bit different from my past videos, and I plan to do more non-Blender stuff in the future as well. Let me know what I should make next. Goodbye.